What's going on, guys? We're back here for episode 3 of Blues World. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning back in here to episode 3. And if you've listened to episodes 1 and 2 and supported the show thus far, I want to thank you for that as well. Now, before we get into the information today, just a quick few tidbits here. You know, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, don't be afraid to subscribe and like the videos. We really appreciate it. We're trying to build the channel up, and a lot of support here early would be awesome. Also, if you want to see some new topics on the show, if there's something you want to hear discussed, if you want to get in touch with me or something you want to hear about, if you want to shout out, just let me know. You can see the social media links on the screen and below in the description if you want to send us an email for anything like that. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Episode 3 of Blues World. Here we go. All right, so the NFL MVP. It is the most valuable player, the most prestigious single position award in the NFL. Well, the question is, who is it going to go to? Now, if you're like an average NFL fan, if you've been watching most games this year, you know the consensus early was Carson Wentz. Before he tore his ACL, his stats were 3,296 passing yards, 33 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 61.5 completion percentage. Those are outstanding numbers. He was absolutely running away with the MVP. But against the game, against the Los Angeles Rams, he tears his ACL, going for a 2-point conversion, I believe. And after that, the rest is history. He's done for the year. Nick Foles comes in to replace him, so that knocks him out of the MVP discussion. Now looking at another player who was having a great year, but then he got hurt as well. Antonio Brown. 101 receptions, 1,533 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. Having another spectacular year. Thought we were going to see a chance where a receiver could finally get the MVP award, but it's not going to happen this year. He goes down with the injury late in the season. He's out as well, so that kind of puts him out of contention. Now, looking at two outsiders possibly looking in. Also from the Rams, Jared Goff. 3,804 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 62.1 completion percentage. Now, if you look at that, those are amazing stats, especially for a guy last year as a rookie was looking like a bust to most people. You know, usually it takes a little while for people to be considered a bust, but you know, it wasn't looking good for Goff early. But I will give him and Sean McVay and the rest of the organization credit. He's really turned it around, and he's a potential MVP candidate. Do I think he'll win it? Probably not. He's an outside shot at this point, but he's had a spectacular year, and you know, people need to give him congrats for that. Now, another guy looking on the outside looking in, Russell Wilson. He's in the MVP discussion almost every year. You know, he always has tremendous stats, and he's always the best offensive playmaker they have. It seems like no matter the type of situation the Seahawks are in, Russell Wilson will find them a way out of it on offense. This guy can evade all defenders on defense and throw a long bomb for a touchdown. He just has that kind of magic ability. It drives me crazy when he plays the Panthers and he does it. He does it to other teams. It's just he's a one-of-a-kind player, man. Whether you like him or not, he just has that gift where he can just escape anything. So far, his stats this season, 3,762 passing yards, 32 passing touchdowns, 11 picks with a 61.3 completion percentage. Now, taking a look at those stats once again, amazing, spectacular if you would say. But his team possibly not going to make the playoffs. Depends on a few other teams and a few other games going on this weekend. So we will see what happens with that. If they miss the playoffs, it's not going to be good for his MVP chances. If they make the playoffs, to me, he has a better chance of winning it. But at the end of the day, you can see here by the thumbnail and the pictures on the screen, we all know who it's coming down to. It's coming down to two guys. You got the legend, the GOAT, Mr. I Define Father Time, Tom Brady. So far, 4,387 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 picks, 67.5 completion percentage. Vintage Brady right there, man. I mean, he's playing spectacular at the age of 40. A lot of people said that he was done at the beginning of the year. You know, the Patriots were struggling. You know, my Panthers, we went into Gillette Stadium and won, but that's either here nor there. So early on, the Patriots were struggling, but Brady, he's found a way to get it done. Once again, they're going to be pretty much a lock to make the AFC Championship game. If you're asking me, probably the Super Bowl. You know, the AFC, it's not quite as competitive as the NFC would say, but you know, if you ask me, the Patriots are pretty much a lock. Tom Brady, to me right now, he's got to be the front runner for MVP, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm going to tell you why Todd Gurley, that's right, Todd Gurley from LA should win the MVP award. Now listen, I'm kind of at the point now with Brady where I don't hate Brady because of the Patriots and he's Brady. You know, I'm kind of at the point where I respect him because he's just been doing it for so long, so effectively. You just kind of have to sit back and watch and just admire what he's doing, you know, whether you hate the Patriots or not, whether you hate Tom Brady or not. You know, I'm not the biggest Patriots fan. I'm a diehard Panthers fan. But at the same time, you got to look back and just appreciate and admire what the guy's done. For him to be competing for an MVP award at the age of 40, it's insane, man. You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. But looking at Todd Gurley, a guy who his rookie year had a really solid season, was looking like everything he was promised to be. Last year, he struggled. The whole Rams organization struggled. You know, under Jeff Fisher, things weren't working out. You know, Gurley was really the only weapon they had on offense. Had to keep force-feeding him the ball, and it just didn't quite work out. So you bring in Sean McVay, you make changes to the whole organization. You got Jared Goff playing better, and then you got Todd Gurley playing amazing. So far, 279 carries, 1,305 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4.7 yards per carry. Amazing, spectacular stats, but that's not it. Look at the receiving totals as well. 64 catches, 788 yards, 6 touchdowns, and averaging 2.3 yards per catch. That is insane for a running back. He's a dual threat, man. And I'm going to tell you why Todd Gurley needs to win the MVP. Ready? Here we go. LA is a newer market for the NFL. Yes, they've had teams there previously, but you know, this year the Rams have come back to LA. There's been a lot of criticism, a lot of skepticism about can a football team in LA draw. You know, they've got to be good. Well, the Rams are good. They're going to make the playoffs. But here's the thing. If the NFL gives Todd Gurley this MVP award, it's going to do wonders for LA because you're potentially building another star, another franchise star for the NFL for the next 10 years or so. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Todd Gurley, NFL MVP from Los Angeles? He would instantly be the top star in all of LA sports, in all of Hollywood, California, everywhere. He's going to be the number one guy. You know, he's going to be up there. So to me, if you give him the MVP award, it's going to look good for the NFL because they are going to try to expand that market. You know, that's going to be good for them. That's going to give them a good image. Todd Gurley can be that franchise anchor on the West Coast for the NFL. And to me, that would be a smart business move. But he has the stats to back it up, and his team is playing really good football right now. So if you ask me who should win the MVP award, I'm going to say Todd Gurley because we also need some more parity in the NFL. We are tired of seeing quarterbacks win it. Okay, listen, I'm a diehard Panthers fan. I will admit that. I was ecstatic when Cam Newton won the MVP award 2 seasons ago. But at the same time, he is a quarterback, but he's also a dual threat. He's not just doing it from the pocket. Cam's running around. He's making plays that only a guy like Russell Wilson can make sometimes. I mean, he's doing it all. So that was a little bit different. It wasn't just your traditional standard pocket passer quarterback. He was a little bit different. He was doing things differently with his playing style, and that's why it was kind of cool to see him win it. But looking at this season, you want to see a guy like Gurley win it. You want to see something different. And like I said earlier, you want to create some parity, and you could potentially build a new star for the NFL on the West Coast. So, but if I had to make a prediction, who's going to win it? It's going to be Brady most likely because he's Brady, man. You know, people eat it up. He's Tom Brady. He's the best of all time. But at the end of the day, Brady's going to win it most likely, but I make my case for Gurley. I want to see him win it, and if he does somehow win it, that would be awesome. And like I said, all the things will probably come true that I just predicted. You know, that they have a potential huge star for the LA in the West Coast. So we will see what happens with that. And whenever the MVP award is announced, we will discuss it and see what happens. Eminem's revival. Yes, I've already discussed it. I've discussed it on this channel. If you want to see my review, me and my friend Jeff, who also has a podcast on this channel, if you want to see a review of that and possibly looking at Eminem's career retrospective, go check that video out. I'll put the link in the description and I'll put an annotation on the screen so you guys can check that out. But go look that up. It's a really good conversation piece that we had about that. So, talking about Revival, we're going to talk about the numbers here. Revival reaches number 1 on the Billboard, according to XXL magazine, of course. He reaches number 1 on the Billboard 200. This ended in December 21st. That was when the album sale ended for the first week. So he sold 267,000 albums, but 197 of those were actually traditional albums. So the rest were streams, I'm assuming, downloads, stuff like that. So he's the first artist to reach 8 consecutive number 1 LPs. That's an incredible feat. The first artist to reach 8 consecutive number 1 LPs. Will it ever be reached again? Will he make it 9? You know, we kind of talked about that on the retrospective video that we did. So if you want to check that out, once again, look at that. But that's not what we're going to get at here. Yes, he's number 1 on the Billboard, but let's take a look. 2013, the Marshall Mathers LP2, released in 2013, debuted at number 1 as well. The numbers for that, 792,000 copies the first week. So listen, Revival, 267,000 albums. Marshall Mathers LP2, 792,000 albums sold. Wow. It's a big dip. It's a big drop off. Now listen. Obviously, this album was not it was not terrible, but it wasn't good. You know, the more I listen to it, you know, there's a few good tracks here and there. It's not quite as bad as I assumed originally, but to me, it's still the worst Eminem album out there right now, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'll change my mind a year later, a year or two down the road, maybe. But as of right now, it's at the very bottom. But there are a few decent tracks on there. River, Framed. You know, there's a couple good songs in there that you could possibly enjoy. But the question is Eminem losing his drawing power? Well, yes and no. Why I say that? Yes, because, well, the guy's in his late 40s, his mid to late 40s. I mean, any rapper is going to lose drawing power after they've been on top for so long. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Michael Jackson. You're going to lose star power because newer generations are coming up, newer types of music. People don't want to hear from older artists like they want to do their younger artists sometimes. And it's sad, but it's the truth. Many rappers talk about it in their songs. I know Eminem's done it plenty of times. So what I'm saying is, yes, Eminem is losing his drawing power, but it's not like he really has anything to be ashamed of about that. I mean, the guy's been on top for so long. I mean, eventually, every artist has to come down. Now, is this the end of Eminem being a top name? No, because Eminem will always sell. Like I mentioned in the previous or the first podcast, Eminem could puke in a bag and it's going to sell. It does not matter what he puts out. It's going to sell because he's Eminem. He's going to have his fans regardless. Now, will he continue to be on top? You know, I'm not sure. To me, he's probably going to put out another album, in my opinion, but if I had to put money on it. So we will probably see this increase to 9 consecutive LPs at number 1. So we will see what happens with that. But as far as him losing his star power, you know, like I said, he's always going to have his fans. He's always going to have his diehard stands. He's going to have the older generation of fans that have always stuck with him and some newer generation of fans with his newer type of music. But you know, it's just tough. It's just tough to see him kind of drop with these numbers here. I mean, that's a lot of numbers there. It's a big dip off, but at the same time, it's going to be expected. And you know, this guy, he's been around for so long. It's going to happen to anyone. Don't just blame Eminem's The Album. Yes, Revival is not that good, but at the same time, guys are going to drop down in sales regardless of who you are. So I still encourage everyone to check out the album if you haven't heard it. You guys can listen to our review, like I said, if you want to kind of get some perspective on that. So we will see what happens with that, guys. And we're going to take a look at another topic here today. Stay tuned. Is Apple intentionally slowing down your iPhone? Well, that's the question on task today. So let's take a look at this. So apparently, consumers of Apple phones, iPhones essentially, have been complaining that Apple has been intentionally slowing down their iPhones. You know what? I believe it. I've experienced this problem myself numerous times. I know family members, friends have experienced this issue as well. It's nothing new. You know, Apple essentially, they released an apology, according to CNET, that they released an apology stating that they only did this because, you know, they're not sure that the older phone batteries can keep up with the newer types of storage and the new types of software that they have on these new updates. So what we're essentially looking at here is Apple lying or are they telling the truth? Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's true. I think these older batteries cannot hold the strength and the stamina that other the newer phones have, but we will look at this as it develops. At the same time, you know, it's not a bad business move for Apple if they're intentionally doing this. I mean, you look at the new iPhone X, things like what, $1,000. So of course, if your old phone stops working and they do that intentionally, you're going to be more inclined to buy a newer version of a model. Now, where this could backfire, Samsung. You know, I'm an Apple guy myself. I have Apple products. But, you know, Samsung's commercials, they take digs at Apple. It makes me want to buy a Samsung because I like that competitiveness that they have. They just don't care. They're just always going to come after Apple. And you know what? Apple's really been putting out the same kind of phone for years now. I mean, essentially, it's just more updated stuff. You know, it's just harder for me to transfer over to a Samsung because everything I have is Apple. It's Mac. You know, it's tough to do that. But at the same time, Samsung, you know, they've really stepped their game up. And, you know, I've honestly been considering switching to a new to a Samsung or a Galaxy or something like that. So essentially going back over what I said, Apple, are they intentionally slowing down iPhones? Probably, because they want you to buy the new phones. I wouldn't listen to their apologies or whatever they're giving out. It is what it is. You know, people at the end of the day, they're going to see a new iPhone, and if their old one is slowing down and they see the new one, they're going to want to buy the new one. That's just how the game rolls. So, you know, guys, getting to the end of the episode here, you know, first off, I want to essentially say thank you guys for supporting the show thus far. You know, it's kind of a shorter episode here today. We've got New Year's coming up here today, so it's kind of a busy weekend. Everyone's been busy. I've been busy. I'm sorry it took so long to get the episode out. But I just want to let you guys know, yes, there will be new content coming out. There's always going to be a Blues World every week. We're going to have new stuff coming out 2018. Don't worry about it. It's going to be new stuff, not just podcasts. It's going to be all types of videos, all types of stuff. So I hope you guys stay tuned and enjoy that. And guys, I'm going to get out of here. Just to recap what I talked about. Todd Gurley versus Tom Brady for the NFL MVP. My bet is Brady, but I want to see Gurley win it. We need some parity in the NFL. Book it. Gurley's going to win it. Number 2, Revival's numbers. He sold 267,000 in the first week, compared to Marshall Mathers LP2, 792,000 in 2013. A huge drop-off. Yes, Eminem's album, Revival, not that good, but at the same time, he's going to lose his star power. He's getting older. It's just the music industry. That's how it is. And number 3, Apple intentionally slowing down iPhones so you can buy a new one. You know, I believe it. I think they're really doing it. I know they put out an apology and stating a reason why they did it. But at the end of the day, you know, I think essentially they just want you to do this so you can buy a new phone. It's all about nickels and dimes and dollars, man. That's all it is at the end of the day. So coming to a close here, I hope everyone has a safe holiday weekend. Happy New Year's, and we will catch you guys on the next episode of Blues World, number 4. You guys have a good one.